Good day, everybody. My name is Simon Mayoye from ICANN. I'm so excited to be part of today's session. I couldn't make it for the in-person because of circumstances that could not be avoided. But here we are. Today I'll be talking about kindness. We spell it as KINDNS, and we pronounce it as kindness. And it is basically a framework for DNS security operational best practices. And I'm looking at the audience for this forum, which is majorly of routing background, and I'd wish to mention something about manners, because I believe most of us have had or participated in the manners initiative. And so just pointing out that kindness is actually a complement of manners, because while manners is an initiative that is inclined towards routing protocols and its best practices, kindness on the other hand is more inclined towards the DNS ecosystem and its best practices. So the question that comes in play will be, why kindness? Why was the initiative triggered? And there are a couple of reasons that that are behind these, of which I've listed just a few of them. The first one, which we are looking at as DNS operators' challenges, is DNS complexity with many implementations. We all know that DNS has matured. We are looking at close to now 40 years since it started. And so with time, we get more complications. As we speak now, we have so many papers and documentations online, which can be very confusing. So with time, we have complexities, and also many implementations. The second challenge, I'd say, the need by engineers for a clear guideline, not a complex one, that can give them a start to implement a DNS system and at the same time operate it. The third challenge, I'd say, lack of dedicated DNS engineers, especially for small operators, because the bigger operators, we know that you'll find that they have a fully fledged department of engineers specializing in DNS. But when you come to a small operator, you realize that probably they do not have a budget, or they do not have the expertise to have a dedicated DNS engineer. And so in essence, the engineer or engineers they have is a do-it-all. I'll do everything from routing to DNS to security. And so because of such a situation whereby we lack dedicated DNS engineers, this is one of the triggers as well for the kindness initiative. And so to kindness, the initials, kindness, they stand for knowledge sharing and instantiating norms for DNS and naming security. And by definition, then kindness is a simple framework that can help a variety of DNS operators, and we're talking about big or small operators, whatever kind of operator it is, so long as they're running a DNS system. So the framework helps them to be able to follow both the evolution of the DNS protocol, as well as the best practices that the industry identifies for better security, and of course for everyone to be happy using the internet, because at the end of the day, the internet user wants to know if it works or it doesn't work, and not how it is being operated. So for for ease of implementation, to be able to have this particular initiative going, we had to categorize the implementation into different types of operators, where we have majorly categorized like into three. We have a authoritative name server operators, which includes the folks that run top level domains, services, as well as critical zones. And also in the same category, we also have the folks that run the second level domains and below. Then the other category, which is the recursive resolver operators, which includes closed and private operators. We're talking of organizations like, let's say, private organizations, banks, and the likes. Then we have shared private, folks who run the shared private name servers, which you're talking about like ISPs that run DNS for their customers. We also have, in the same category, we have the public resolvers, and these are the likes of Code 1 for Cloudflare, we have Google's Code 8, we have Code 9. And then the last category, of course, we know that whoever runs such services, they'll be having such platforms. And so basically the core system also has to be hardened. So in essence, all these targeted operators or types, or rather categories, they have a number of practices, let's say 6 to 8, that we encourage operators to be able to implement. All this has been documented under our website, which is www.kindness.org, whereby you can get more details, including the type of operators and the steps to be followed as per the recommendations of the initiative. So by joining Kindness DNS operators, that means they'll be voluntarily committing to adhere to these identified practices and act as goodwill ambassadors within the community for the betterment of the internet. So I'll dive into each category at a higher level. So we have the first one being the authoritative DNS operators of critical zones, whereby we have several practices that we have listed. So one of them is DNSSEC, that is DNS security extensions, whereby we say that the DNS sec must be signed, and then have to follow key management best practices. We have transfer between authority servers, which must be limited, that in terms of controls. And then we have the third one being zone file integrity must be controlled. We have authoritative and recursive name servers, which must run on separate infrastructure. Then the fifth one is a minimum of 2 distinct name servers must be used for any given zone. The sixth one, there must be diversity in the operational infrastructure, that is network, geographical, and software. And the seventh one is the infrastructure that makes up your DNS infrastructure must be monitored. So this is just a list of practices that we feel must, and when you say must, is like is a minimum. The initiative recommends that we be able to meet these ones. Then the second one is the authoritative DNS operators for second level domains. This one has the same, so no need to repeat, The practices are the same as the ones I've just mentioned. So I'll go to the third one, which is the closed and private resolver, which are not publicly accessible and cannot be reached over the open internet, but they're typically found on corporate networks, as I mentioned earlier, banks and whatnot. So some of the practices as well, the first one is DNS-sec validation must be enabled. Then the second one is access control list. Statements must be used to restrict send recursive queries. Then we have the QNAME minimization must be enabled. That is like an emphasis. We have the fourth one as authoritative and recursive name servers, which must run on separate infrastructure. The fifth one is at least 2 distinct servers must be used for providing recursive services. The sixth one is authoritative servers for a given zone must run from a diversified infrastructure. Then the seventh one is the infrastructure that makes up the DNS infrastructure must be monitored. So then going to the practices, we agree that all practices are documented on the website that I mentioned, www.kindness.org, and when you go there, you'll be able to navigate around. We have a listing of the type of operators. We also have all the guidelines, tools and guidelines on how to go about that. Then we have a portion for joiners, whereby we really encourage teams to join us through a couple of channels, but most importantly, we have the self-assessment and enrollment, where operators in each category can self-assess the operational practices against a kindness. So because now we have kindness is a blueprint, and so you try to assess yourself to see where are you at compared to a blueprint that is being projected in the industry. And then when you run the self-assessment using that particular tool, you can use the report to correct or adjust any unaligned practices that you find that you should be able to do. So just to point out about the self-assessment tool, the self-assessment tool is anonymous, so it will not indicate that you are running the assessment from this particular organization, who you are. And then the second part is reports can be downloaded directly from the website for your own use. So operators can be able to enroll as participant to one or many categories covered by kindness, as mentioned earlier. Then the participation in the kindness initiative means voluntarily committing to implement, because no one is going to coerce you. And then participants must become goodwill ambassadors and promote best industry standards for such implementations for DNS. So we have this is just a sample of whatever project, a sample of self-assessment report, which you can be able to access once you run it, and then you can download for your use. We have seen a couple of reports, and we have trends that come out to see why people are running these assessment tests, and we have documented these, whereby we have some observations, like the first one, why different organizations or individuals are taking the self-assessment assessment for their systems. Looking at the trends, we see like majority of them, as per the last report, like 74%, they want to know where they stand. Okay, and then so that they can use to convince the organization, probably based on budgetary reasons. That is around 38%. And then the second part is the core DNS operation practices assessment as one of the observation as well. We've seen when we say components of the DNS that are run, we have like authoritative servers, 28%, we have recursive servers, 20%, and then both recursive and authoritative, 47%, and then managed by a third party, we have around 5% that is coming from the assessment. All right, and this is the rest of the observations which you can be able to pick from the reports when you are able to run. They're available, you should be able to download them. The next point would be more of selecting the BCPs. So the question is, how do we identify them? So the first point is draw from own operational experience. Just to clarify, this entire process is more of community driven, and so we have operational experience, we have operators through mailing lists and community discussions, we have reviews in the RFCs, and then we also have a shortlist based on relevance, ease of implementation, and how widespread the adoption is. So one of the requests that we have is that you be able to join the kindness, discuss mailing list, so that you can be able to participate in the discussion, to be able to improve where we feel that we don't have strength, to be able to participate in the DNS ecosystem. So when we come to engaging the community, what we are saying is that operators must agree on the selected BCPs. So the list was launched in 2021, whereby we're encouraging at this particular point operators from all backgrounds to be able to join as a learning point, as a point whereby you bring strength into the industry if you're not coming to learn, but all of us are learning every day. Then we also saying that when in doubt, ask the community for advice on what they consider to be a BCP or not. Some things were debated. So is DNS validation a must or not? And I think this is a very critical point whereby we might have different reasoning. Somebody might say this particular practice is a must. Somebody else might say it is not a must. But this is more of a guideline whereby we feel these particular ones are a must and some are not. We have some practices which we don't consider as a must because either they've not been implemented widely enough, either they're too complicated, especially for small operators. They do not have expertise, not have the budgets, or whatnot. And some of these are like any cast. It's a good implementation to consider, but we can't say it's a must. All right. Then we have the current focus on the front end side. We are activating the enrollment form. We also are working on the translation, trying to translate the website and the tools into other languages so that it is not just English. And also going to evolve the self-assessment tool to technically measure, assess how operators implement the practices. So these are some of the current focus that we have so that we make this improvement on this particular initiative. We have community engagement and also generally communication. Then in addition, we have a couple of points like adding response, rate limiting, addressing split responsibilities, access, reliability, community review team, and metrics. These are points that are really key to be able to be highlighted and discussed. So we have other additional tools that are external, readily available on the internet. So we have the Zone Master, we have DNS Biz, we have the Super tool, then we have the into DNS. And that comes the end of my presentation. You may be able to contribute. You're really encouraged to be able to visit the website kindness.org. Yeah, we also have Twitter X handle. We have the emails you can be able to send to info@kindness.org for any inquiries. We also have a mailing list there whereby you're encouraged to join, not just to listen in, but to be able to contribute. Thank you very much.